Hey, what's going on? This is Eddie Gray. We're looking at Black Saw Audio. They got a new offering today, and I'm always up for the idea of automation when it comes to music production. Now, I want to show you this new plugin. It's fantastic. I want to thank Sean over at BSA for sending it over. But here's the deal. Something you have to understand before we really get to know the plugin. We want to talk about clipping. I know a lot of people use it, but I want to know, do they actually know what it's doing? And then, of course, what are some real world applications? So let's get into it here. Visually, I just want to show you what it looks like. So we'll get to what it sounds like, but let's just look at the data here. We've got basic rock drum set. This is a loop within the Apple Loop browser, and you can see that we have some peaks. All right, so this is a fairly dynamic performance. It has plenty of transient content. Now, when I use a clipper as opposed to a compressor, related, not the same, you can see in the performance below that it's not necessarily been flatlined like a compressor or limiter would do, but quite literally the performance has been chopped off. All the peaks have just been slashed. So take a closer look here. Same performance. The only difference is we're using a clipper and we're just taking off, right, the high transient material, and we're chopping that off in such a way where we can control not only the transient, but just the entire performance as a whole. Now, we understand what it looks like visually. That's great. We can use this on a track, on a group, and of course, on a master level. I particularly like it on masters. Really warms up the bass. It's really, really great right before the limiter. I've actually tried it after the limiter, and I like that too sometimes. All right, so if you've been following the channel, you know that I am transitioning to a new Mac M1, and I decided to go back to my old computer because things were getting a bit fishy. This plugin is M1 compatible, so that's a plus, but let's go back into just my regular system, and let's listen to the original file here, basic rock drum set. Okay, and then once we clip this using BSA Clipper, sounds like this. Okay, now before you hit me in the comments and you say that you love the video, you love the channel, and maybe you don't like the sound, all right, maybe this is not your cup of tea, consider that there are more applications than you're currently thinking about. So for some of you that like dark, industrial, heavy stuff, this sound is amazing. I understand it's not going to work for everybody. So we're going to look at the plugin. All right, let's look at some of the parameters, and then I'm going to take you to a full session and give you some applications within an actual song. Here we go. BSA Clipper, really easy. My favorite thing about Black Saw Audio is how they make music production accessible to everyone. Anybody can get started, and anybody can start sounding good, in my opinion, right away if they have all their ducks in a row. So we're looking at BSA Clipper, and on the left we have an input knob. This basically determines how hard the signal is coming in. If you have a quiet sound, of course you can increase it. If you have a loud sound, maybe you can pull back some. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and isolate the drums. They're already kind of loud, so I don't need to utilize the input knob at this stage. Now there is a slider here, which is a clipper threshold. This is the slider that determines when will I start clipping the signal, and that's going to have different audio consequences. So let's take this back down to 0. Here it's not touching it, so let's shave off just the tip of the transient. Okay, now if I increase the input gain, of course, it's going to be a lot more intense. And so this could be a way to fatten up sounds. I'm not going to do that here. Here's before. Simply not as exciting. Simply not as magical as. Okay. So look, there's two more things to look at, and that's it. I love plugins that are also easy to understand. You look at the meter, there's two things to look at. So on the left, we have the input meter. It's just the information coming into the plugin. And then correlating with the Clipper threshold is this, the clipped meter. And so this tells you where you are cutting the signal off. And that's pretty much it. Now remember, you're manipulating not just the transients when using a hard clipping tool like this, but you're also dealing with the dynamics. This is a very precise tool. It's going to give you a lot of different results. So it's easy enough to understand on a track level. Let's look at this on an entire song. Let's go. All right, so I want to move this snare, push it back into the mix. You don't necessarily have to be super aggressive with the clipper. You can be. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to push it back by means of transient activity, push it back by means of that dynamic activity, and then finally, I want to make sure that it still has the impact. So we're going to go ahead and enable BSA Clipper, and let's get started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bounce this to audio. We'll call this BSA Clipper. We'll leave the original source file so we can A/B these back and forth. This is just another one of those tricks that'll get you across. You want to make sure that you have plenty of these as you navigate the world of music production. So let's look at this. Let's understand what's happening here. You can see that my signal is a little bit more chopped up. Okay, let's listen to the audio. I will mute this one. We'll go back and forth. Here we go. So as you can see, that second one by BSA Clipper sounds a little bit more exciting. So I'm also going to drop the volume. Now, why would I do that? Because if I'm getting more energy out of the signal, I don't necessarily need as much volume. And so then now this can coexist with, let's say, a vocal on top. So there, the regular snare just isn't blending, right? This is a mixing technique that you can use to get more impact, but kind of tuck away the snare in there. It's a little bit of sleight of hand, but it really works in a lot of different cases. Let's A/B this one last time. Great way to get those snares to really blend in. I'll keep the BSA Clipper snare, and now I want to insert this on the master channel. We're going to go ahead and put this before the limiter, then I'll show you what it sounds like after the limiter as well. But the goal here is just to simply be subtle. We're not interested in pushing too hard or anything like that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the vocals just for this segment. All right, so this is before, and I will just slowly introduce it. It's just going to be a subtle effect at first. I want you to follow the bass. I want you to listen for warmth. Do you see why we call this the cherry on top mastering trick? Yeah, okay, I actually just made that name up. But this is a really nice way just to get a little bit more out of your song, just to squeeze a bit more out of it, get it to jump out of the speakers. Let's run that same trick, but this time we'll do it after the limiter, and you will get a different sound. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this. Here's before. In this instance, I still get warmth, but now the transient material really switches up when it comes to the guitar. Listen to the guitar. Acoustic guitar, right channel specifically. Here we go. So isn't that amazing? We can use one plugin to change the depth perception, and it doesn't have anything to do with imaging particularly. So lots of great stuff here. Let's put this back behind the limiter. Let's see what kind of benefit we get. Yeah, so they're hearing the guitars too, but I think the bass is really what's benefiting. And here, this is where the acoustic guitars start to shine. Take a listen. And along with the tops of the drums, along with everything really. One last listen before. Yeah, even the strings sound a little bit brighter, a little bit fuller. Please be subtle on a master level. On a group level, you can probably go a little bit harder. And of course, on a track level, you can go as hard as you want. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Eddie Gray signing off. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. Go ahead and give it a share. I'm going to be really busy the next couple of weeks. I'll see what I can do as far as making more content. But thank you again to Sean from BSA to sending this over. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody out there who's supporting what I do. I got a lot of love for you, and I have a lot more surprises coming your way. So stay up, stay happy, stay focused on what you want, and more importantly, stay in action. Don't let life get in the way. Never settle for a life that is not yours. I'm gonna get out of here. See you later.